What is up, my Lorcana Goons, and welcome back to the Lorcana Goons channel. Today we're going to go over some Mirabelle winning deck lists from this weekend's set championship events that have been happening, as well as some big tournaments that happened that weren't set champs, but I do want to cover those lists as well. So this is going to be a bunch of different deck lists that maybe you guys can try out yourselves to prepare for your set championships, because we have proof now that some of these lists are winning some Mirabelles, even the playmats as well for the championship competitors. I quickly want to go over this chart presented to us by Knives the Nerd on Twitter. Go follow him if you like Lorcana data. He basically broke down the tournaments that happened between September 28th to October 7th and ended up putting all the top cut deck lists in one pie chart for us. So tournaments that had plus 36 players, it was the top 8 decks, and tournaments with 100 plus players were top 16 decks. And by looking at this chart, we can see that Amethyst Emerald is up there with the top like 4 or 5 deck lists that have been really popping off this format. We have Ruby Amethyst, which is always very popular, Ruby Sapphire, which is always very popular. Amber Steel was like the third best popular. It kind of gained a lot of popularity when Brendan DeCanio got first place. And then next up we have the Emerald Amethyst deck that Earlmeister basically created, and now Emerald Steel is starting to become a huge part of that pie graph now because of the recent win by Zan Syed. So 5 big contending decks, and then a bunch of other decks in the top cut as well. Sapphire Steel, Amethyst Sapphire, which is not something you see too often. That's Blurple, you know what I mean? Amber Amethyst and Amber Emerald, which you're going to see a lot of these decks in this video as well that will basically earn the Mirabelle's top 8s for their store championships. So let's start off with this Ruby Steel deck list. It's got 3rd place at the Excalibur Set Championship. Shout out, Borf is the name of the person who got top 8 with this. So Earn the Mirabelle got 3rd place. Looks like it's modeled after the top 64 Ruby Steel list from the DLC in Vegas. So we're seeing Happy, Robin Hood, Doc as our early game package. We have the 1 and 2 drops there with Flynn Rider, Sami as well. And then the 7 Doors Mine is a location that basically is going to net you some lore, as well as be able to deal 2 damage to a character. If you move a knight there, and if you move a regular character, it'll be 1 damage, right? But one of the biggest plays with this deck is to be able to go Flynn Rider on turn 2, and then on turn 3 you can play either Sisu or Gustav the Giant, because Gustav has 6 strength. And a lot of these cards apply early pressure. We have the John Silver that benefits you from having locations. He gets extra lore and resist. We have the Tiana, which is going to stop your opponent from using actions if you have no cards in hand. And Tiana in a deck automatically tells me that this is an aggressive deck, and that's still going to be the 4-drop Tiana, by the way. It's going to be the resist 2 Tiana as well. Unfortunately, is a brawl target and a Sisu target sometimes, so don't know how I feel about that card in the deck, but I would like to try this deck personally. We got Jim Hawkins for some extra aggression on turn 5, Maui to clear some problematic characters or locations probably, and the Robin Hood Goons as our only shift character. And we are playing the 4 Pete games because we got to stop our opponent from playing board removal like grab your swords or be prepared, right? One of the best plays with this deck is to dump your entire hand out, maybe play Tiana, and then next turn play Doc, so you draw 2 cards, you can ink more cards and empty your hand, and that Tiana is going to be live, while that Doc allows you to draw 2 cards, possibly any turn you draw him again. I also like Happy as a 1-drop right now in Steel, because that is a 1-cost character that clears Diablo, and oftentimes Emerald decks have to invest a lot of their hand into a Diablo, and if they're going to use Diablo, Sing Storm, or Sing Strength, they're wasting a lot of cards in their hand just for a 1-drop character. And if you have 2 of these in your opening hand, you're probably safe to clear that Diablo, right? Also, moving the Knights to the Mine deals 2 damage, and that clears Diablo too. And yes, Mine does give you 1 lore per turn, so that's definitely aggressive, along with the Super Goof that can just net you 2 lore when you challenge. Now, we do have to go over some meta decks, because you have to be prepared, pun intended, for the meta at these set championships. And in top 4 of the Top Choice Gaming Simmering Skies set champs, we have Ego Dre. Shout out Ego Dre, he's the homie. We've done a video with him because he finished in top 32 of DLC Fort Worth with Emerald Steel. And now, without Bucky, he's playing Emerald Steel again, securing that top 4 in Top Choice Gaming. Shout out Top Choice Gaming and all the players who play for that team, by the way. I know he's on their team. This is the Emerald Steel list that a lot of people are kind of going off of, very similar to Zan Syed's list. He calls it Fuji Plus. Don't know what that means. Let me know if you know what that means in the comments. 4 Diablos, the 2 Coves. We got the Morph in the deck currently still. A lot of people still on Morph, because you can play Tragic Beast Hero on turn 3 with Morph. Oftentimes when I mulligan with this deck, if I open up Sad Beast, I just keep it in my hand and try and put everything else, because if I see a Morph, that's Sad Beast on turn 3, and that's really broken. If you haven't seen Zan Syed's video on how to mulligan or play with Emerald Steel, go watch it. It's a very useful video. They have Sudden Chills, Ursulas, and Anas for some extra discard and damage dealing. We gotta play Diablos in this deck alongside some actions to discard with Diablo like Hypnotize, Storm Rage on, Strength, and we're playing Smash, which is very interesting. I like Smash because Smash is going to be a card that can clear an opposing Diablo while the opposing Diablo is on the Hidden Cove, which is very important. So Hidden Cove plus Diablo is very strong, and if you're playing a deck like Ruby, you can't really clear the Diablo in time. However, if you're playing Steel, consider Smash in your deck now because you can kill Diablo, banish it with Smash if it's still on the Cove, which is very important sometimes. And it's also not a song, so it can't get sniped out of the hand by Ursula. We're playing Ursula, Deceiver of All, so that we can sing some of these nice songs twice, like Storm and Strength and Sudden Chill. That combination with Prince John is nutty, but we are only playing 3 John in this list, and 2 Giant Tinkerbell Fairy alongside 4. We don't talk about Bruno. So Emerald Steel, very powerful in the meta, likes to discard your hand, likes to control the early game tempo with their actions and songs, and Muses in the mid game basically makes it so they can recycle their Ursulas or their Annas or something, and if they're trying to keep control of the board, they can bounce back your characters too. And yes, the ruling is confirmed. If you use Muses and shuffle in your own Muses with your welcome, after you're done resolving your welcome to draw, you can trigger the Muses to bounce a character. Muses does not have to be on the board still for that to happen. Gotta love the bag phase, as I call it. Next up, we have a Sapphire Steel deck called Trust Issues by G. Abel. Shout out you for getting first place at your set championships. This is a Sapphire Steel deck that is indeed playing Whole New World. We have 3 Whole New World. We got the 4 Cogs, the Chen and Po, kind of similar to the Lamb Chops list. I got top 8 at the DLC in Vegas. And it's looking like we're playing Aerials in this list, though. So you can quest for 5 sometimes with that Aerial. And if you have Lucky Dime, that's just like a 4-turn kill. Only 2 Tamatoa in this list is very interesting. I definitely feel like you want to play 4 Tamatoa if you can, because it feels like the best card in Sapphire sometimes, but at least in Sapphire Ruby, with my experience. Not sure how you feel about it with Sapphire Steel, but whenever Tamatoa comes down on me, I feel like I'm in a scary position. So sometimes I am a little worried that this card will get hit off of a Mickey Mouse or something, or a 1 jump ahead. So personally, I'd like more than 2. We are playing 1 copy of Tipple, 4 Fishbone, and 3 Mickey Mouse as our ramp, and then we got the 4 Popsicle, 4 Fortisphere, as our draw power in the beginning. Flavor Sham, obviously. I like the combination of 2 Fire the Cannons, 1 Baboom. You have an inkable option to get rid of Diablo, but Steel has a very strong position in the meta right now, and I like the ability to be able to use Baboom or Whole New World to just clear Diablo. You know what I mean? So that always sounds really nice. And this is the only deck I think right now that can really play Grab Your Swords, and we're seeing 3 copies of Grab Your Swords and 3 copies of Let It Go in this list. Huge shout out to Sky for sharing his blue Steel list that plays no Whole New World that he used to finish top 4 of his set championships. He's playing a variety of cards that we don't normally see in the meta, like the Magic Broom. This is the Aerial Cleaner. This has evasive on your turn. It is a 2 strength, 3 willpower character. Excellent out to Diablo, by the way, especially in the opposing Steel mirrors. Like this card is so sticky with 3 willpower, and it has very good trades. We got Force Me, 3 Mickey Mouse, 3 Pete Games, Flavershims, Cogsworth, Tinkerbell's at 4. We got 3 Aerials so that we can make sure we can quest for 5 sometimes, or hit for 5 with a Lucky Dime. That's always nice. I like the addition of Hades back in the meta. Hades is somewhat of an interesting card because sometimes you don't always want to give your opponent that extra ink in the early game, but later on in the game, in the grind game, which, Sapphire Steel likes to take you to the grind game, Hades almost doesn't matter. If your opponent's at 10 ink and they're playing a bunch of 1-drops, 2-drops, 3-drops, if you give them 11 ink, 12 ink, and they only have 2 cards in hand, like, it's not really going to matter, right? So I like Hades in the current meta with a deck like this because you're not playing Whole New World. You have to play bombs back to back and really secure that tempo is what it feels like. 2 copies of Simba, the Fighting Prince. I like this Simba. I think he's pretty strong. 5-7 willpower is a very scary stat line. Quest for 2 and can get some advantage by drawing 2 cards and removing 2 cards from your hand that are maybe uninkable, cards maybe you can't play, because we're not playing we're only playing Fishbone Quill as the way to get cards out of our hand, so no Tipo in this deck list, what it's looking like. 4 Tamatoa, like I was saying, I like 4 Tamatoa. We got 2 Fire the Cannons, 4 Visions of the Future, 3 Grab Your Swords, because we're playing Sapphire Steel. It's one of the only decks right now that it feels like you can play Grab Your Swords, let alone a multiple copies of Grab Your Swords. And in a Bucky format, or not a Bucky format, but an Emerald Steel format, when your opponent's spamming Prince Johns and Diablos and Ursula the Deceiver of Alls that you can't necessarily challenge just yet. This goes a long way. Yeah, this can go a really long way. And then 8 versions of Popsicle, Poor Pop, 4 to Sphere. And then we got the Fishbones and the Lucky Dime to round it off. Shout out Sky, awesome player. The Blue Steel, no whole new world king. You know what I mean? It's a tie between him and R&B for the Blue Steel Master. But R&B is about the whole new world life, and Sky's not, and he's shown it to us before by getting a Mickey with Blue Steel. And be sure to go follow him on Twitter, bro. Now we have another Mirabelle winning deck list. This is top 8, an Amber Amethyst list piloted by Christian K, Yellow Purple, Laker Nation, my a lot of the West Coast people. This is playing some interesting cards, though, some cards that I'm not used to seeing. We're seeing the Magic Broom. This is the 5-drop uninkable 4/4 that has Rush. Has an ability also that says when you play this character, shuffle all the brooms into the discard, but that doesn't seem to like come up in this deck because there's no other brooms. Though we're also playing the 5-drop Nani. This is a 3/6 character with Bodyguard that quests for 2. The Magic Broom quests for 2 as well, so I'm seeing kind of a pattern here of some like 5-drop characters that quest for 2 alongside the Bell, the Accomplished Mystic. There we go. Bell the Accomplished Mystic is a cool card. 5/4/4 quest for 2. And when you play this character, move damage characters, 3 damage characters specifically, to another character. So that gets around resist actually, which is very nice. And yeah, we're playing a bunch of other cards in this deck that aren't necessarily like hyper aggro that we're used to seeing, like the Lilos or Maleficents. Instead, we're playing 3 Chernobog followers, 2 Pascal, 4 copies of the Queen Goons, so that we can respect Daisy, I'm assuming. And then we have the Shiftable Queen as well. I like the use of Wendy Darling in this deck. This is a vanilla 2/1/3 that quests for 2. Very good stats in a steel meta, especially when you can heal it with Rapunzel or something. No daisies. That's very interesting. I would have expected Daisy in this deck. We got the Bare Necessities just in time to make sure we can play any of these 5-drops that we went over a little bit earlier, like the Isabella Madrigal. This is an interesting card. It has evasive, so it can out Diablo. And during your turn, if no other character has quested yet this turn, then this character gains 3 lore, so she can quest for 4. And whenever you quest with this character, your other characters can't quest for the rest of the turn. So basically, this is the only character that can quest on your side of the board, but she'll quest for 4. So if you can cheat this out with just in time, that's a lot of pressure. On turn 3, you can also play the Uninkable Moana. Shout out Earlmeister. I've been seeing him use this in his streams, and it's a very good tempo card. 3/3/4 that quests for 2, so you get good trades and you get good lore value on there. Alongside Library to draw some cards, Goats to give you more lore, Chernobog for the late game pressure, Elsa to clear evasive and Diablo style characters, and then we have the 7-drop Madam Mim Purple Dragon. Very interesting. This is the only like bomb we have in this deck other than Chernobog is what it looks like, and it's a 5/7 character that says has evasive, can quest for 4, and when you play this character, you either choose 2 characters from your side of the board and bounce them to your hand, just like the Mim Fox and the Mim Snake, or you have to banish this character instead. But it's a huge heavy hitter, another 4 quester in this deck. This is an interesting Ruby Amethyst list from the flashcard Simmering Sky set champs. It's 3rd place. This list playing a lot of characters and not necessarily many actions, right? So we're seeing 4 Cogsworth, 4 Rafiki, and 4 Lumiere as our early game package with the Mim Snake. We're not seeing Flint Sisu in this list. No, we're just playing characters, which is other tempo-based characters, which is very interesting. Only 3 Brawl, 4 Friends. We got the Petting Zoo package. It's looking like we have it maxed out. The 4 Snake, Fox, Crab, Rabbit, Goat. Wow, they're all at 4. Very hard hitting, right? Peter Pan's Shadow, the Bell, the Accomplished Mystic, the one we were just talking about right now. Another deck playing Isabella Madrigal. That's very interesting. The 4 Elsas and 4 Mauis. I really like Elsa this format. As a Ruby Amethyst enjoyer and player, and I'm committed to that deck, Elsa has been overperforming given the amount of Emerald Steel and Amber Steel in the meta. And Maui is just Maui. Like, it continues to be one of the best cards in the game, right? And our removal package is going to be 2 Tremaine, 2 Medusa, 3 B-Prep, and 2 Scar. I really like this. A very interesting list and a very cool take on a way to play Ruby Amethyst this format. This is 2nd place by Paul Chen from the Ludo Trotter tournament that had 600 plus players. This was the 2nd place list, so shout out you, Paul Chen. This is a list that looks like it's modeled more after like Kendall Burdett's deck list, and it's very similar to that list actually. But we are seeing 3 Medusa, 2 Tremaine, with 4 B Prep as our removal. So a lot of heavy removal in the end game. 1 Library, 4 Castle. That's like the Kendall Burdett special right now. 2 Crabs actually in this list. No Elsa. Personally, I like Elsa right now, but this list is not playing Elsa. We got the 4 Mauis, 4 Brawl. 4 Brawl seems mandatory revelatory to me, and 8 1-drops. Let me know what you guys think about 8 1-drops this format. I have some homies playing 7. I've seen Kendall Burdett's recent list for set champs. He's only playing 7, so that is one way to go. But this is a more, I would say, consistent Ruby Amethyst build, one that you would that I would assume somebody is playing. Like if I saw the color combination across from me, I would assume they're playing a list that's pretty much like this, if not the exact same. Here's a cool Amethyst Steel list. I think Amethyst Steel has positioned itself as a decent deck in the meta, if not very good. Top 8 from the Flashcards Shimmering Sky Set Championship. Very tempo-based, but some early aggression with Maleficent and Mr. Smee in the early game, which is pretty cool. We also have removal like Baboom, 2 copies of Storm Rage on. We got the 2 Grab Your Swords in this deck. Not a lot of decks can play Grab Your Swords, so I like seeing this in this deck, right? 3 Snake, 4 Fox, 4 Rabbit, 4 Goat, and 3 Elephant. Elephant in this deck so that we can bounce back our Peats as much as possible. It is a deck that can play 4 copies of Pete and make it seem like you're playing 5, 6, 7 copies of Pete because you can just keep bouncing them over and over again. 2 copies of Crab, 2, and then along came Zeus, and then we got the 3 Tinkerbells and the 4 Robin Hood Shift Champion of Sherwood alongside the 1-drop Robin Hood Goons. So Amethyst Steel, very tempo based. We're not seeing anything too fancy here like Jafar, none of that jazz. It's not the aggro version. I like the addition of Elsa in this deck as well. Maybe you play the Shift Elsa too in this deck, but 4 copies of that evasive Elsa seems correct for this type of meta we're in. Want to give a shout out to Waylon Sprinkle. He finished in top. He actually got first place at his set championship playing this version of Amethyst Steel. This is a more aggressive version in my opinion. As you can see, we have a variety of 1 and 2 drops that you probably don't see in your average Amethyst Steel list. You know, we got the Chernobog followers, the 2 copies of Aladdin. This is the Steel Aladdin. He has a 1 strength, 3 willpower, and a cost 1. It's like an Olaf. So we're playing the Olaf Aladdin. We got Robin Hood Goons, 3 Snake, 3 copies of Doc, Bold Knight. Only 3 copies. It's very interesting. I feel like this is a card I would like to max out on, but we're not playing like too many low-cost characters either. It looks like a mid-range kind of aggro deck. So it's called Repeat Lockdown. It might be more of a tempo aggro deck, but it's not even aggressive actually. The real aggressive cards here are Mr. Smee and Lawrence. Those are your 2 questers alongside Belle and Robin Hood, right? I like Lawrence. 4/4 with 2 lore on him, and if he's damaged once, he goes to 0/4. The point is, he has 4 willpower, so he's going to be sticky on the board. And right now, you can slap Pete and just bounce him again, right? So that's always nice. 4 Fire the Cannons in this deck. Love to see that. You can tell that Waylon knows how to deal with the Diablo at his local store. 4 Friends, 3 Zeus, 2 I find on my Platinum. This is a Heavy Storm for my Yu-Gi-Oh players. This is a card it's a song actually. Costs 4 and says banish all items. So if you have any pesky item enjoyers at your LGS, people who are playing the Queen Red Blue item deck or something, or maybe just somebody who is pretty good at using Sisu Ice Block, maybe this is a card you want to consider for your deck. And then 4 copies of the Queen's Castle because it is the best location in the game, right? I'd like to think you start the game off with that early pressure of Chernobog, Aladdin, or Robin Hood, and you can shift them, and then you start manipulating Smee so you can quest for 2, maybe bounce Smee so he doesn't stay vulnerable on the board. I notice we're not playing Captain Hook, so there's no captains in this deck, so Smee will take damage, but you can always bounce back Smee, which is nice. And I noticed that this deck can put early pressure in the beginning, and it just naturally starts climbing in lore race, like little by little with Lawrence, Goats. Sometimes they get a very good turn to play Castle on you, and it's really hard to get rid of Castle if they go like Castle Pete, because then you can't use Hideaway, you can't use Rise of the Titans. You have to have something like a damage dealer or a rush character, and sometimes you just don't have that in a lot of decks. Some more spice. We have Emerald Amber. We have a lot of Emerald Amber actually in this video because there's multiple different Emerald Amber lists that I saw that were interesting that made it into, if not first place, the top cut of the set championships or other tournaments. So this is first place from the Battle Bear set champs. This one had 40 players. This one was pretty big. First place playing an aggro yellow-green deck. We got 4 Merfolk, Daisy Duck, Kita Goons, and 1 copy of Lilo and 2 copies of Lil Jon as our 1-drops alongside the 4 copies of Pegasus. So we have a lot of 1-drops in this deck off the top, which is something I can tell already. We got 4 Piglet, 2 Simba, 4 Ursula Deceiver, 1 Anna Queen, 4 of our Clarabelle, the Contended Wallflower. This is a card that lets you just draw a card like Maleficent Sorceress. On turn 3, you can probably play this if you have less cards than your opponent, which most of the time you will, because you're playing an aggro deck, right? And you could just draw an extra card, right? We're playing 2 copies of Invited to the Ball. This is an action that I've seen kind of like played with in in the meta sometimes. It's a card that says reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. Put revealed character cards into your hand. Put the rest of the cards on the bottom of the deck in any order. So in this deck, this is the only action you're playing. So unless you unfortunately hit the other invited to the ball with this effect, then you're more than likely gonna get those 2 characters for free off the top, right? So it's kind of like a friends on the other side almost, because it's like a draw too. It is, however, uninkable, and it is an action, so you can't sing it, so that is a drawback. We are playing more aggressive cards like the Donald Duck to gain us a lore, Cloud Kickums, which is very nice against an opposing Flynn Rider or Daisy Duck. So we're playing 4 of those. Only one Lyle Tiberius, which is interesting in my opinion from playing a green-blue deck or a deck that's more tempo based. Lyle overperforms. I really enjoy Lyle, but I can see how you can only maybe fit 1 because you probably want to keep your uninkable count low because you are playing the Merfolk and the Daisy Duck at 4. For Rapunzel, the best card in Amber by far. For Key to Shift, the Protector of Atlantis, because we want to be able to apply pressure probably and keep our characters alive. And this card is underrated in my opinion in a tempo-based format. Very aggressive. And we have the Shift Peggy, which is pretty cool. Give your characters evasive. The ability to go like Pegasus and then turn to like double Merfolk or something, and then turn 3 Shift Pegasus and give those Merfolks evasive is unfair sometimes. So it's a very strong play. Then we have 3 Clarabelle and 1 Turnabog. Turnabog as a bomb, and Clarabelle is low-key a bomb too, because you can position yourself into shifting this Clarabelle on turn 5. It's a 5/6 character, which is very hard to destroy unless you have Maui or something in your deck. And there's a world where this Clarabelle nets you like 2-3 cards, and those 2-3 cards could just be like Piglet Donald or like Lilo Simba or something like that. And you can just start questing for game after that, which is really nice. Here we have a similar list. This is going to be from the Shimmering Sky set champs at Fire and Dice. This is top 8 by Alvin Hernandez. Shout out you. Pretty awesome to see a Mufasa enjoyer with yellow green. They're playing 1 copy of Perdita, 4 copies of Mufasa, 1 copy of Cusco, the Temperamental Emperor. Shout out you. Love to see that. Shout out White Breezy, the Cusco enjoyer. Love seeing Mirabelle as a 1 with Cusco in set 6, right? Wreck-It Ralph as a 1-drop, which is cool. This can get back your princesses and net you 2 lore every time that happens. So you have Moana, and we also have the Rapunzel as a target. 2 copies of Hey Hey, which gets you extra ink if you are below ink than your opponent. 3 copies of Be Our Guest, so we can make sure we always see the right cards. But sometimes that might get in the way of Mufasa, but it's probably not going to happen, especially if you draw multiples and you ink some of them, right? And 2 copies of Surfer Stitch. So a lot of more high-end characters for this build because we are playing that Mufasa, right? Here's another way you can play the Mufasa deck with green-yellow. This is by Kevin McHan. This was the August Book Exchange Shimmering Sky Set Championships. This guy got first place with this deck. And we are playing the Clarabelle targets, 4 of the 1-drop Clarabelle, the Clumsy Guest, 3 of the Wallflower Clarabelle, and then 3 of the shiftable Lighter and Hooves Clarabelle, which is nice. 2 copies of Under the Sea with the Kita combination as well. So if you want to play a Mufasa deck, you can still play a one-sided board wipe in this deck. But this is pretty awesome, actually. I like this because you give yourself the potential to just come back indefinitely with Kita seeing a shift Kita sing Under the Sea, right? The 4 Mufasas, we have a little bit more other types of tempo bombs like the Mother Gothel. We have we have both Mother Gothels actually. Hitting these off Mufasa is probably really high tempo. Bonsai to gain some lore early, 2 copies of Lyle, which is what I like to see. More actions in this one though, because we have 2 Under the Sea and 2 You're Welcome. I imagine locations can probably be an issue with a deck like this, so that's probably why you got the 2 You're Welcome and the 2 Cricky. But Perdita in this deck also seems like it's a staple. You can probably get back your Daisies, your Bonsais even. Ooh, that's pretty nice, right? Yeah, 2 costs or less, you can get back your Bonsais in this build. Now, this is a more traditional yellow-green list. This is more of the Diego Saz list, the guy that got first place at Toronto. This is I Whip on Ariel by Devin Wong. This is the local homie and a Lorcana Goons teammate. Got top 8. Shout out you, Devin. Appreciate you. Got top 8 at the Top Choice Gaming set champs with yellow-green. He's been on this deck for a while, and he definitely knows how to play it. So I trust the judgment of playing something like Cursed Merfolk in this list instead as a 1-drop. So our 1-drops are Merfolk, Diablo, and Hidden Cove. And we're also playing Flynn Rider for a more heavy discard package. So it's a little bit different actually than the traditional Diego Saz list that we're used to seeing, because we're playing the 4 Prince John, 4 Ursula, so that we can sing cards twice like Set and Chill and draw 2. Very nice to see. This card, this deck is very good at hitting non-characters from your hand. So if you're playing the other lists like Mufasa, you don't really have to worry, but if you're not playing a deck like that, you're going to get hit by Bare Necessities. You have Forgotten Me, potentially, the Ursula Deceiver, and you're able to manipulate muses to the best of the ability in this deck. You can sing songs, trigger muses in the bag, and then bounce back your aerials, play the aerials again. Very nice. And we're also playing 4 copies of Naveen. That's kind of cool to see. And Naveen can sing 6-cost songs or less. So we have Bruno, You're Welcome, Sudden Chill, Painting the Roses, Bare Necessities. And if you play Naveen with muses on the board, that will trigger muses as well. So those are some nice little combos you can do. No shift keto, which is very interesting. No, like no floodborne keto, which in my opinion is very good in a deck like this because you can play that floodborne keto and then sing your warded characters like Prince John and the Muses because no, they can't target them anyways, or even the Ario or the Naveen because they're singer 5s and 6s. And then you'll be able to use Under the Sea fairly easily in a deck like this. But you are playing Painting the Roses red, which also probably has just as much of an impact in the game state to be able to make the characters in that Under the Sea range. In the same tournament, the Top Choice Gaming Shimmering Sky Set Championship, which was 30 plus players, by the way, there was a first place Amber Steel Song deck that was playing some cards that I'm not used to seeing, like 2 copies of that Key to Protector of Atlantis, like we were just talking about. But we're playing 4 copies of Sven. Sven is a 4-cost character, 3 strength, 3 willpower that quests for 2, and he has an ability that says when you play this character, you may ready chosen character that they can't quest for or challenge for the rest of the turn. So it's pretty interesting what you can do with this card. Obviously, you can the most basic play is maybe quest with Piglet, gain 3 lore, play Sven, ready my Piglet. You can't challenge my Piglet anymore. So that's pretty impactful. The fact that he quests for 2 as a 3/3 body is really strong because it'll give you the potential to possibly save one of your characters from being challenged. But another interesting application is if you have a singer character like Prince Naveen on the board and you have Sven, what you can do is you can go ahead and go let the Storm Rage on with my Naveen sing, deal 2 damage, draw a card, play Sven, ready back my Naveen, use Naveen, sing Whole New World again. Because technically you're not challenging or you're not questing, but you can sing again. So Sven gives you the ability to sing your characters twice. I think that's very nice, especially in a deck where you can top deck a Whole New World sometimes, or but we're not playing Ariel in this list. That's very interesting. So we have 4 Pete, 4 Lawrence, very interesting with the 4 Pigs. So we have a very early heavy quest engine with the 4 Daisies as well. Almost feels like an aggro Amber Steel deck, right? And then 2 copies of Venja. He quests for 2. He pops items. Love to see it. 4 Whole New World. Very interesting list. 2 Smee, 2 Kita Bodyguard, Kita Simba, and then the last Kitas with the Robin Hood Sherwood as our Floodborne characters. Wow, pretty cool. I'm gonna test this out. We have a more traditional Amber Steel list here. This was in my singing era, which got 2nd place by Cassidy Viak. Shout out you. Augusta Book Exchange Set Championship. And this list looks a little bit more like the ones we've been seeing, piloted by Brandon DeCandio or on the channel by Zach Stone. Zach Stone did a Amber Steel guide on our channel. If you guys want to go check it out, very good. He finished in day 2 of the DLC Vegas with Amber Steel. This list playing 2 Bare Necessities and 1 I Find on My Platinum, which is different than the way Zach was playing it. I Find on My Platinum is that card we just went over that banishes all items. Maybe you can fit it into your Amber Steel as well. It's very interested to see how that performed for you. And then 2 Grab Your Swords, which I think is slowly becoming, might be the trend or the meta to add more Grab Your Swords in your deck because of the whole Prince John situation. And we have 3 Cinderella Stouthearted, which I personally really like to see. I think Cindy Stouthearted is very, very good in the meta right now because this alone can answer Prince John, Cogsworth, anything with Ward really, like the Muses. And you can shift it on turn 5, right? So if you have some good tempo, you can get that Cinderella out pretty early. Real quick, just want to mention Amber Steel being so strong in the meta, taking 1st place at that Ludo Trotter tournament that we were talking about, that 600 plus player tournament that happened this weekend. Amber Steel got 1st place. It was piloted by Bastien Favier. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but yeah, check this out. It's kind of similar to the list we were just seeing right now, in my singing era list, because we are seeing the 3 Cinderellas. We got 3 copies of Lawrence and 3 copies of Piglet, Pooh Pirate Captain. I think these are slowly becoming staples in Amber Steel. If you're not playing Daisy Duck, because you need the ability to quest really early on in the game, but also play around like tempo-based cards like Fox or other characters that can't handle 4 willpower. You can't always use Daisy Duck in this deck because of the uninkable count, and in general, if you're playing against like red-blue, you need early game questers like Piglet or Lawrence to make sure you survive that match. In 1st place of the Fire and Dice Shimmering Sky Set Championship, we have Patrick Malari. And if you don't know who Patrick is, Mayari, go check out his Instagram. Him and his partner, they do a Twitter and Instagram account called Lorcana Duo. They're local to the Southern California area. Awesome people, very good players as well. And Patrick over here got 1st place playing Green Purple, the Emerald Amethyst Tempo deck that was really popularized by Earl Meister, which I just have to shout out Earl Meister every time. Got to give him the flowers. But yeah, this deck deck looking pretty solid. A little bit more consistent than some of the other builds I've seen, not playing like a lot of 1 and 2 ofs. We got the 4 Clarabelles, the 4 1-drop Clarabelles to pop items, but no shift Clarabelle or no 3-drop Clarabelle. No. We're just using this one to pop items, and that's it. And then we have 2 Cove. We have the Pegasus package, 4 and 2 for a Floodborn 2 Floodborn Pegasus and 4 of the 1-drop. And then we have 2 Bonsai for some early game pressure alongside the snakes to, maybe try and bounce those back. We have the 2-drop Mother Gothel that we can use as a Mother Knows Best, which is nice. Then we have our songs, which just consists of friends on the other side. So you're only playing 4 friends and 1 library. Oh, we're also playing 2 You're Welcome. But everything else is going to be characters. So we have 2 Coves, 1 library. That's 3 cards. And then 4 friends and 2 You're Welcome. That's 6 cards. So 9 cards in total in this deck are non-characters, which is pretty cool to see, because that means in those matchups where they're playing Ursula or like yellow cards on you, they're not going to be as impacted on your deck. 3 Elsa, 5th Spirit, 4 Rabbit with the goats, the foxes, and the snakes. 3 Loud Tiberius, because Loud Tiberius is really annoying in this deck. It's very strong. Very strong. And if you didn't know, if I have a full board of characters and a Lyle, and you be prepared to me, yes, you will still lose the lore for all those characters except Lyle, of course, because he doesn't count himself. But yeah, if I have Lyle and 5 characters, you be prepared to me, you will lose 5 lore, buddy. That is a confirmed ruling. I think Lyle is kind of slept on because of that. 3 crab to round off that petting zoo package, and that 1 library, like I mentioned. The library is pretty cool. Let me know how you feel about that 1-drop, Patrick. And in the comments, if you watch this video, please let me know what you would change. This green purple, this is from the Card Club Hockenham set champs. This is a top 8 Merfolk tempo, is what it's called, by IT Fairy. Shout out you. We have the Clarabelle package in here of 3 shift Clarabelle and 4 of the 1-drop Clarabelle. I think 4 of the clumsy Clarabelle here is kind of mandatory in a lot of the green decks. I mean, not all of them, like green steel, but in a deck like this, if you're planning on playing into the mid to late game with more heavier cards, you probably need this card to out the opposing ice blocks, the opposing fishbone quills, and the opposing lucky dimes when they come on the board. So consider playing 4 of these in a deck like this, right? 4 Merfolk, only 1-drop Pegasus, so we have 9 1-drops in this. I like this. 4 Sir Hiss to contest Diablo. This is a 2-cost 3/1 character that has evasive, and it dies to all the steel damage cards. But if your opponent doesn't have those cards, they can't play Diablo, which is super nice, right? And then against other evasive decks, obviously this has a very strong potential, right? So we also have 3 Cloud Kicker to stop Flynn. We're playing 3 Crab, 4 Goat. I like the 3 copies of Ursula the Sea Witch Queen in this list, and so you can shift it onto your Ursula Deceiver, and sometimes this quest for 3 and just closes the game out. It's also a very good way to exert opposing characters if you need to like out something with the Elsa or the Crab, which is pretty cool. 4 copies of Castle, because it's probably one of the best locations in the game. I like Hidden Cove though, but we're not playing Diablo, so it doesn't look like you need Hidden Cove if you're not going for that Diablo opening package. And then 3 You're Welcome, so that you can deal with the opponent's locations. Did I mention 4 Merlin Rabbit because it's the best card in all of Lorcana? Next up, we have the blue-green cow deck. This is a interesting build for this deck. This was like the older build we've seen that was popularized in the beginning of the format, but we're playing some cool cards like Seldom All They Seem. This is a song that costs 2 for Sapphire that says chosen character gets -3 strength this turn, so it lets you kind of manipulate the opposing character's strength with Ice Block to sing Under the Sea, which is kind of cool. This is Chris L's first place list, getting first place at the Deck Box Shimmering Sky set champ, so shout out you. We have Ice Blocks, Popsicles, 1-Jump, Strike a Good Match. If I was playing this card and 1-Jump, I'd probably want to play Ursula Deceiver of all. That sounds really fun. We have 3 Mother Knows Best. We have a lot of cards that bounce to the hand, like Mother Knows Best. We have the Mother Gothels, Muses as well. And for the late game package to close the game out, Double Dime, 2 Tamatoa, 1 Mufasa. And then we have some songs to control the board, like You're Welcome and Let It Go. And 4 copies of Bell, so that we can quest for 5 or just, tap the dime every time we play a Bell once we get to that later game. The ability to empty your hand out and play Clarabelle and draw 6, 7, 8 cards sometimes is wild. And if you want to see it happen live, tune into our live streams. Go watch the old live stream from last week and be sure to put those notifications on so you can see when I go live. I'm playing blue-green. I'm not playing it like this though, but I am playing this color combination because I do think it is powerful. I'm playing it more like the way Ducky built it. 1 copy of Lady Tremaine, by the way, which is kind of interesting. Lets you get an action from your discard back to your hand. Pretty cool. We obviously have to mention Red Blue Ruby Sapphire taking first place at the Excalibur set championship. Les and Furs, Coda, shout out you. We're playing the ice block version still. 3 ice blocks. We have the 4 of the shiftable empowered sibling Sisu, and then the daring visitor Sisu at 3, making our ice blocks very strong. We're also playing 2 copies of Hideaway, no Cusco. I like Hideaway more than Cusco right now because I feel like it's more ink efficient. I think there's more situations or turns where you can play 2 ink and then explode on the board, whereas Cusco costing 6 ink, yes, it is a body, but it costs a lot. Either way, they both have pluses and minuses, right? 3 Brawl, 4 Visions, such a good card. I'm seeing a lot of people add Great Stone Dragon to their Ruby Sapphire decks again. So this is something to consider. It's now they have 5 ramp item cards, which is why I was kind of saying maybe you want to play that one drop Clarabelle that pops items, because now they're using cards like Great Stone Dragon, and this card gets a lot of value on you. How Farago is also making its way back into the red blue decks, because I think How Farago is a very good card against Emerald matchups. You're able to ramp and dig at the exact same time, which is gonna let you not minus a card against a deck that constantly wants to discard cards from your hand. Grandma does the same thing. What's great about Grandma against Diablo is when you play Grandma, you add a card, you don't draw. So every time they discard, you can refill it with Grandma or How Farago, which is pretty nice to see. And then for our removal, 2 Beat Prep, the 4 Sisus, like we said, 3 Medusa because we have Ice Blocks, 2 Maui, 4 Tamatoa, and 4 Maleficent Monsters Dragon. No wonder Maleficent Monsters Dragon is at a $100+ cold foil. And if you haven't seen that, go check our Market Watch video too. By the way, I gotta shout out the one copy of Dig a Little Deeper because that was definitely popularized by teammate and local Lorcana Goon from Germany. It's gonna be Dean Confam for getting top cut multiple times with Dig a Little Deeper in his red blue deck. If you don't know what this card does, it's a sync together 8-cost song that says, look at the top 7 cards of your deck, pick 2 cards and add them to your hand. The rest go to the bottom of the deck. The concept is that at some point in the game, you're going to have like Grandma Flavorsham or Grandma Lingering Maui, and you want to beat prep the board, but like you just can't. So you sync together and then beat prep the board. So you get the extra value there. Last but not least, I want to go over these red, yellow Mufasa decks that have been getting a lot of success at these Mirabelle tournaments. This is actually from the Loot Trotter tournament as well too. Top 64 from the final standings had a Mufasa deck here. We are playing the daisies in here to make the deck a little bit faster, but we're also playing copies of Lumiere, which is interesting. No Gastons. Instead, they opted to play Doc because it is inkable. So we can cheat out early game cards like Maui, Mufasa, maybe even Medusas and Perritas at some point, right? We're playing the Stitch Abomination at 4, which is nice. This is a 4/6 character that quests for 3. Very heavy hitting, and if you hit this off Mufasa, you're going to be able to quest for game pretty quickly compared to like not having a 3 quester on board. We're playing 1 copy of Scar, 4 Surfer Stitch, 1 Wreck-It Ralph, 3 Monstrous Dragon, and 1 copy of Turnipog. No actions, no locations, no songs, just characters. This is how I like most of my Mufasa decks. Here's another Mufasa deck. This is going to be top 64 from that Loot Trotter tournament as well. Multiple Mufasa decks in that top 64. This one playing a Gaston, 9-cost uninkable that I really enjoy. He lowers the cost of himself by 2 for every damaged character you have. So if you're playing Mother Gothels and you're playing Mulans, then he's going to be able to cost up to 7, maybe even 5, maybe even 3 cost only. And he's a 10/6 character that quests for 2, so he's pretty strong. And he triggers your Maximus, and Maximus is a 6-cost red card that says at the end of your turn, if you have any characters in play that are 5 strength or more, you gain 2 lore. And if you have any characters in play that are 10 cost or more, you gain 5 lore. So this happens at the end of your turn too, so you can just play him and set this up somehow with a Gaston, which is really nice. But there's not that many other 10 strength characters in this deck outside of that, and I don't think that's going to trigger any other way. But we have the healers of Rapunzel, Julieta Madrigal, and some more lore burst with the Wreck-It Ralph. And we're playing 4 copies of Evasive Mickey BLT, so that's pretty cool. I'd love to see that in a red-yellow deck. This was a 600+ player tournament, so to see a red-yellow Mufasa deck in top 64, sorry, not just 1, but 2 of them, actually pretty cool. And I want to give a huge shout out to APAC Plains, Jet Li, Plainsy, for getting a Mirabelle with his yellow-red princess deck. And he put, don't let your memes stay dreams, be a princess instead. That was his post. A pretty awesome deck right here. We have 4 copies of the Queen Sensor Core, 1 copy of the Minnie Mouse, Rapunzel, 3 copy of World Greatest Criminal Mind. If you didn't know, you can use a Queen Commanding Presence in a different way to give your opponent's characters 4 strength, and then you can World's Greatest Criminal Mind them. And Minnie Mouse, the Musketeer over here, here is a walking world's greatest criminal mind. She has the exact same effect, so you can use that to your advantage. Ooh, we're playing 3 copies of Li Shang. This is cool. It gives your characters with 4 strength or more the ability to quest for 1 more lore, and we have Lumiere there to combo that off, which is really nice. We're not even playing the Li Shang Goons. We're just playing the Li Shang Flutterborn there. I like Mulan in this meta. Mulan is very strong right now because if your opponent has a Diablo and they don't respect Mulan, you can shift, clear a character, deal 6 damage even to 2 more characters, one of them being that Diablo, which is very strong. Ooh, we're playing the Vanellope Von Sweets as well. This is from the starter deck, the Vanellope Goons and the Princess Shiftable Vanellope that basically lowers your opponent's strength anytime you play a princess, which is nice because we have the Tempo Moana like we went over earlier in the deck. And look at this, they're playing the 4-drop Vanellope Von Sweets. Shout out my friend Bag. He put me on this card actually because he said it's a good Diablo out. It's pretty cool. If they have Diablo at Cove, you can play this and it trades. Sometimes if it's not Diablo you're trading with, you can swing into a character. This card still has evasive on that turn, so your opponent can't challenge it back, and this is going to potentially be able to clear another character. So huge shout out you for getting a Mirabelle with red, yellow princesses. Also, shout out all the kids winning and bringing home Mirabelles in this set, champs, because I'm seeing a lot of children do very well. Shout out Neil and Bradley on Twitter. I believe Bradley is the young one, or Neil. But the point is that they are very good at Lorcana, and this little youngster, this young Illuminaire, has been getting. I think he got 2nd place back to back at these store championships. And shout out the Prodigy Player 12 on Twitter is a young Illuminaire who also got 4th place at his DLC with green and purple. They need to make a kids league for Lorcana, man, because like these kids are going to start, beating us at the DLC, and that's going to be tough to take for a lot of us. So please, Ravensburg, you got to get them their own kids league, man. These kids are crazy. That's going to be all for this video, going over some of my favorite deck lists from this weekend set championship and huge tournament weekends. If you guys are playing set championships or you guys didn't know, they're happening every weekend in October. Find your local game store, sign up, play, have some fun. There's plenty of anti-meta, non-meta deck lists that we went over today that you guys can try yourself. But at the end of the day, it is a game. You can't win them all. If you haven't won a Mirabelle yet, don't sweat it. There's going to be future set champs to come every time a core set comes out, which is wonderful. And just keep trying. Remember, the game's about fun, and it is fun to win as well. So if you do want to get some practice going, be sure to keep it going to your local game store and supporting them. And if you want to keep learning about the meta trends and all this stuff, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to Lorcana Goons, especially if you are a Lorcana Goon yourself. And if you guys do well at these tournaments, please tag me on Twitter. Love to shout you guys out on the next one we do, because it really does help with the content too, and I really do feel like giving y'all a round of applause for how well you do at these tournaments. So until then, stay tuned to Lorcana Goons, and we'll see you goons next time.